Hello. I'm just getting myself set up here. We're about to look at, hold on, there it is. Right. We're about to look at the body-mind connection process over time, right? Ways in which to re-establish the connection when it's lost, right? And this is with the assumption of the relationship that is primary to them in the learning environment or when homeschooling or between a parent and a child, right? Or a carer and a child. There's a really wonderful man I want to mention, called Andy Smith from Spectrum Gaming. He doesn't know me for Adam, right? But I've been watching the stuff he's doing with Spectrum Gaming, and he is quite wonderful. And I'm in deep alignment with the way he's supporting children. He basically takes autistic children, he gives them he runs a gaming facility and he uses that to teach them teamwork and collaboration and self-ownership and conflict resolution from a remedial place. He's anti-behaviorist in his approach, and he's just quite literally the loveliest person. Like, and I think his name is Andy Smith. I just wanted to shout him out because the stuff I'm sharing here, it's not just me. There are countless numbers of people. Why am I getting emotional? All around the world right now who are pulling in, drawing down, creating from their hearts. And when we create from our hearts, we create beautiful things, right? It's a neutral state, it's a loving state, it's a trusting state where we let whatever come in just form itself. There's something wonderful that I've discovered about me. I used to berate myself a lot and I had this terrible perfectionism, right? And I would never let myself have mistakes. I think this is related to what I'm about to do, so I'll keep going. And I do not know why I'm dressed like a fortune teller in a machine. Do you mind the film Big? Right? I look like the machine thing, don't I? Right? Anyway, right. So, what was my point? Oh God. Right. So basically, there's lots of people all around the world who are doing these amazing things. And one of the things I noticed about myself as I've been pulling the body mind connection down, right, is that I used to think I couldn't retain information, right? It turns out I can. When I'm taking in information, lots of it, right, over time, there's something in my brain that subconsciously remembers and puts into an order everything that I need. So I don't have to be rigorous or overprotective over certain elements. There's a part of me that just knows what to do, right? So where I might be absorbing lots of information and research around the body mind connection, when I actually go to put it down, it goes like this. Blah, 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 blah. It's very intuitive and it's coming through in a way that is inherently mine, in my own way. I think that's what I like about Andy Smith as well. He's doing things in his own way and you can see his imagination and all the rest of it. And he's not the only person, right? There's a bunch of people out there doing really wonderful things to create alternative education across the world right now. And it's been so heartening and inspiring to see this stuff. Maybe in me, I don't reach out and tell people that, right? Because I'll be over the top about it. You have to approach me. But I am really pleased, and it isn't a unique thing. And I might be repeating stuff that is already active somewhere in the world or just forming it in a different shape. But if it's something that resonates with you and that makes sense with you, then maybe it's something for you and for the facility that you run or inhabit. So I'm just going to double check here that, yeah, for some reason I end up doing friends only and not public on my feed when I go to do these for the minute. It's really annoying, but nothing I can do about that. So we're going to look at maintaining connection with AuDHD children over time, whilst applying the body-mind connection theory, which is working with the neurology, natural nervous system, and its natural behavior in order to support internalized learning and internalized child development. Right, so there's a bunch of stuff I'm going to be talking you through, and hopefully I'm clear and lucid. And if I'm not, by all means, just let me know another day. No, no, because I won't notice. Right, so I'm just going to pop this up quickly. The body-mind connection, maintaining the body-mind connection, meaning, place, and space. How the body-mind connection works. So I'm going to review some stuff I've already looked at before, right? I haven't got my crystal ball out with me, right? but some of this might be new, some of this might be from the past, right? That you might already know. It's a process to apply for conditioning, strengthening, and developing the connections between the brain and the nervous system. This works intrinsically through us. I'm trying not to get distracted with the fact that I look like a weird genie in the screen. Don't look at me, please. This works intrinsically through us to create equanimity, balance, clarity, and curiosity in the child. Their intelligence is organically rendered from within, so we don't have to watch it, force it, direct it, or observe it from a traditional space. The learning is happening within the evolution of their nervous system and the evolution of their neural pathways through new skills and new experiences and trying things is all organically rendered. So it happens within them without us having to beat them around the head with it. So does the body-mind connection stay the same? No. To simplify, the complex neurotransmitters, neural networks, nervous system states, and various biological pathways all work together to create well-being and learning potential inside the child. When they're at optimal available state for that moment and for that day, it is known as the body-mind connection, and a child will be easeful, playful, relaxed, expressive, connected, interested, being themselves. They're not suppressed in any way. They're not rigid in any way. They're not trying to control their environment. They're just open, right? The child experiences ease and can achieve their best for the stage they're in currently. So I'm going to talk you through the stages now. Now, I want you to imagine that these stages work from the micro to the macro, right? We can see connection to self, connection to others, and connections with the world evolve across a life, across an education time, 14 years, right? Across a week, across a day, across an hour. This variability in how the nervous system and the neural pathways are working together is healthy, right? And keeping the connection flexible means that we need to create a flexibility around how we work with children and what we see or expect of them based on their nervous system needs and their brain capacity and needs. And this is very, very specific to AuDHD children. So connection to self, well-being and learning are dependent on being connected safely to themselves. So knowing themselves, listening to themselves, noticing their body responses, being aware of their body responses, using that information productively. This is the first stage. Children between the ages of 2 to 4 learn about themselves internally through movement, mirroring, co-regulation, and play. Nature and art help stabilize the body-mind connection. I might have to close this down a little bit and come from a smaller screen because there's so much information on that slide. And I don't know why that is. Right, excuse me 1 second. I'm so sorry. I'm such a fidget, aren't I? Right, let's try that again and see if it'll pop up a little more comfortably now. No, right. I'll close it down again. Right. So well-being and learning dependent being connected safely to themselves. This is the first stage. Nature and art help stabilize the body-mind connection so more happens inside them, which is measurable and beneficial long term. And it's measurable according to their well-being and their engagement with their environment, which is kind of what we're watching. Their well-being, their lucidity of expression, their lucidity of thought, and their ability to process emotions, their flexibility, their uniqueness, right? So connection to others, well-being and learning are dependent on being connected safely to others. Children between the ages of 5 to 8 are largely experimenting with their own bodies, their own abilities, and learning to pay attention to their body signals and messages. They are also learning to communicate preference, make things happen, and try new skills. Then there's connection with the world. Well-being and learning are dependent on a whole system flexibility, showing expansion and contraction across time and ease moving between all three states. Now, with the world means wider community, contribution, independent thought, critical thinking, the ability to, collaborate with others in a way that is very unique to them, the ability to bring multiple intelligences together to create something, vibrant and brand new. right? This is where children begin from age 11 onwards to experience their inner nature, their own ideas, their multiplicity of intelligence, and the 10th intelligence for AuDHD children, which is giving, collaborative, creative, and they can contribute more to the wider community. So those are the stages, and they are not fixed. So a child will move through them in a day, an hour, a week, a year, a month. The way Sincerity School is going to work is that we're going to allocate children into these 3 stages and support that variability, right? And we direct according to the given stage that we believe the age is most age appropriate. But then we give children the option to draw back or move forward depending on what we see happening within them and what they're presented. Because it's not about progress markers or pressure. We're working organically with the body system there. We need that flexibility in order to stay open. So for them to stay open and healthy as well. So how is the body-mind connection disrupted? Now I put block capitals in this. I'm not a block capitals kind of person, but here we are with the block capitals, right? Safety and connection are lost. We need safety to connect. As children, we need to be okay with our body's messages, and then we need others to accept and honor those messages in order to grow best. So we're teaching children that we are safe, that they are safe, and therefore the world is safe by being accepting and comfortable with whatever they're going through. Now, disruption is caused, and I'm going to repeat this, and I want to give it a bit of time so people hear it, by dishonesty, confusion, shock, disrespect, judgment, overwhelm, which is usually environmental, sensory triggers, lack of space, lack of dignity, lack of choice. If these repeat over time, the connection takes longer to re-establish. So a child that comes to us that has had repeated instances of this and no re-established connection of safety, either with themselves or with others, it's going to take much longer over time for them before they can move into the next stage of growth. We don't determine it according to their age. We determine it according to where they feel comfortable and where they naturally start to fit based on their own development. And the pace of that is determined by their body and nothing else, right? So children coming out of mainstream education, by the way, and moving into a body-mind connection process would take a little longer in connection to self, whilst their body re-establishes safety, whilst they start to access the messages of their own body before they'd be ready to move into connection to others. You understand? But most of all, a child feels disharmony in their body when dishonesty is present. It doesn't need to be stated, it can be felt, and this erodes connection to self. AuDHD children are super sensitive and not sensitive in a self-focused way, sensitive to all of the things in their environment, and we vastly underestimate them. They're able to pick up on any emotional messaging that we may be trying to hide, right? And as a result, our authenticity and our comfortability with the truth of the state we're in is what's going to create safety for them. We don't expect perfection. We expect humanity held with compassion, both inside of ourselves, for ourselves, and for them too. Someone who isn't trying to coerce them, is someone that they will trust. So causes of disruption: comparison, judgment, punishment, confusion, shock, humiliation, loss of respect, loss of dignity, dishonesty, just reinforcing these points here, loss of autonomy, pressure to perform, needs ignored or erased, not being believed or heard, isolation, rejection, assumption of incapacity. Now that's a major, major discussion point at the moment for children. And I feel quite strongly about it myself personally. It doesn't feel too comfortable to chat about this in too much detail, but to reinforce my point, when we try to control or exploit a child, we do long-term damage to that child's development, in essence. Right? In essence, that's what we're dealing with there. I have no idea why it's not showing me the full screen today. That is driving me bananas. Would you mind if I just get really annoying for a wee second and try and figure out what on earth is happening here? I'm going to try and reshare again. Excuse me for this. Right. Entire screen. I think that's what we need. Yeah, I think that's what we need. Hold on, this might work. No, it's not. Okay. Do you know what? I'm just going to go with this for now. So those are the things that are important. Now, how does disruption to the body-mind connection present? So these are the ways that it presents. Fight, flight, fawn, freeze, and total shutdown, which is dysregulation. Mirroring or matching others, which is self-abandonment. Outsourcing their opinions, needs, and feelings to others, e.g., letting another choose for them, self-erasure. Giving up independence, loss of will. Giving up listening to the body, loss of intuition or self-respect. Controlling, numbing, or rigid behaviors, which is anxiety. Becoming preoccupied with validation, attention, reassurance, or acceptance as false compensations and sign of disconnect within that is potentially long-term. Right. So meaning, place, and space. Okay, I want to talk to you about that now because it's super important and really helpful to be aware of for the children. Okay. Children need consistent, embedded, safe, and nurturing rituals and practices which create a sense of meaning, place, and space in the world. They develop a sense of their own meaningfulness. They develop a sense of place and belonging. They feel spacious and free inside of their rituals and experiences. A blend of autonomy, shared growth, and equal partnership between the body, the immediate environment, and the people within it, all in their time and pace, so we don't rush anything. I saw something demonstrated. I think it's in Living Schools. It's like a Canadian conglomerate, where they're integrating Indigenous practices into what they do. Might not be them, it might be someone else that I've seen based in Hayward Heath or Rockfield. I'm not entirely sure. I need to double check it. But these Indigenous practices in the morning and the end of school day are sort of reinforcing a sense of something wider or greater happening between the children and the facilitators. I love this. Right? I just love it. It's given them a sense of history, a sense of place in the world. I want to see how we could measure, how we could include song and music, sharing food, um, original language, you know, with their Indigenous practices themselves, returning them to a sense of spiritual home internally, you know, that I feel is very, very important for children and allows them to relax inside of a learning environment where the focus is more familial and community wide and embracing rather than this kind of forced, very isolating individual performance focus that you see inside of academic schooling currently. So a blend of autonomy, shared growth, and equal partnership between the body, the immediate environment, and the people within it. Right, so just reinforcing that. So how to create a sense of meaning, place, and space for AuDHD children. I nearly said that the way my son says it. AuDHD, AuDHD. He says, I'm AuDHD too, mommy. And it's like, you are? Right, so he's so funny. Time, respect, understanding, sincerity, the truth. That's establishing trust, right? Give them time, respect, understanding, sincerity, and the truth. If we focus on them, right? In order to establish trust, we need to trust the other person, right? That's how it works. You trust the child, you trust yourself, and keep your heart and mind open, and you treat them as an equal. Not so much an equal, but as someone you are nurturing, someone you are taking care of. In any place where trust needs to be established, there's a lack of hierarchy. There's a collaboration going on, right? That is necessary, where there's both stabilized adult, because that's the only form of leadership we're truly holding. We are the stability, right? We are the rooted, grounded, safe haven, and our balance, it permeates everything for them. But when we communicate that with them, we communicate with them the way we'd want their own little mind to talk to them, you know, with patience, with respect, with freedom for them to express themselves, with time, curiosity. But time, respect, understanding, sincerity, and the truth. These are sort of that's a summary, really. So children learn from what we model, not from what we say. And I wrote about that earlier this week. If we trust them and we trust ourselves and keep our heart and mind open, then they will lead us towards um, what it is they need from us. We can kind of hear that and feel it. And it is a very intuitive practice. But if you've been watching all of these videos, you will have embedded some of this information deeply for yourself anyway. So it's easily applied then in any circumstance. So meaning, place, and space language. So these are examples of terms that you can use and switch up for yourself when working with children who are AuDHD. And it's given them this sense of groundedness and safety and room, to be who they are and feel what they feel and kind of play with the space with you, right? Which is very important for them. You want to keep them curious too, right? So I am establish very clearly who you are, right? Where you're coming from, right? To make sure that we don't do that enough for children, right? In schools currently, they have all these faces passing them with titles that feel formal, and no one really clarifies what their job is for them. So they're in a constant state of confusion. And we know this with AuDHD children. They like to know the how, what, where, and why, So if you give that to them from the off, that's automatically creating an environment where they feel like they've got a little bit more safety and control, right? And I am intending, offering, hoping, we. See, collaboration, remove the hierarchy. How does that feel for you? Tell me more about that if you can. It's like, it's okay if you can't. This is the way I talk to my son. I'm going to repeat what you said. Let me know if I understood. I was never good at this until him. I am ready to listen and to answer any questions you have. You give it loads of time. What do you need right now? Can you tell me, or do you need time to think? Right? What do you need? Don't say, right, this is a big one, right? AuDHD children do have a lot of needs, but when they're allowed to self-source those needs in an unrushed moment, they're easily resolvable, right? From day to day, when they're experiencing dysregulation and dissociation, they're made feel a burden by our impatience. Our impatience, our disregard for them when we prioritize other things above their own energetic space, their own sense of safety in the world. They're picking up insidious messages about being unimportant. I've been repeating to my son this week a thing I'd like him to apply in his life is I make him put his hand in his heart and I say, now you repeat this after me and you tell me how it feels when you do it. I am important, my feelings are important, and no, I won't. Right? So I'm giving him awareness that he doesn't have to do anything he doesn't want to do. And that includes with me and with anyone else in his life. He is allowed to say no because he is trialing his own needs at the minute and communicating with them with me. And I've been demonstrating with him where he speaks up to adults about what he wants in situations, and he's noticing that he can affect change, right? And that his choices matter to the adults around him. So he doesn't doesn't unconsciously self-erase. And no's never an insult. If someone doesn't want to do something, particularly someone who's AuDHD, they might change their mind 5 minutes later. It's about the process itself of establishing selfhood inside of a new experience, especially when we're beginning that relationship. AuDHD children have a sense of newness inside of everything that they're doing, and we have to make that as comfortable as possible, you know. Um, so here are the choices that I have for that problem you might have. So you might be approaching a problem with them. You decide what feels good to you, no pressure. All right, and that's just language you can borrow and change, and you can do this all in your own way, right? And you might want to use less words. You might want to use gestures to indicate some of this, depending on the child that you're working with. But the energy is the same, it's shaping the conversation and the communication around them. So then eventually there's this established sense of equality and safety and comfort. So then we can both be who we are inside of it. just takes a bit of time. And we'll be very surprised. I had my son sit in a meeting with his lovely Senko and lovely teachers in a lovely school that he's in at the minute. And he does have difficulty because the system doesn't fit him. And they brought him in for me and he sat in my knee. And it was lovely because I asked him something that he needed to communicate on. And initially he was looking at the other adults in the room, trying to like suss them out. He's like, "What do you want?" So I sort of slowed the question down and broke it into to segments and immediately started to communicate, what it is that he wanted. And he was noticing people are listening to me. I matter, and it's such a lovely thing to see inside of a child when that confidence is then established for them because then they're okay with themselves and they know to listen to themselves more. They won't listen to themselves unless we create a curiosity around how they actually feel and what they actually want. We have to be the ones to create that pattern inside of them where they're like, who am I? And what does matter to me? Really, really important. So, demonstration of safety, accountability, acceptance, and autonomy over boundaries. This is about modeling, right? This is a little more the concept's a little more evolved. So, accountability, acceptance, and autonomy over boundaries. These are my mistakes, and I will tell you them. I am sorry if something I did caused you any pain. Accountability, right? And be sincere in it. Don't say it if you don't mean it. If you're struggling with a mistake you made and you're like, I made a mistake, but I find it really hard to acknowledge what I did because it makes me feel so much shame, makes me feel so bad about myself. So I need a bit of time. Be honest with them, you know? Like, this is where trust comes from. Someone who's able to reflect on themselves and say, right, this is who I am. This is where I stepped outside of who I really am. I want to correct it, but I see where the blocks are, and I'm responsible for those blocks. It's taking responsibility for, you know, remedial things like that. Really important that parents and learning facilitators do this so children get comfortable with their own humanity. This very sterilized sort of a relationship that we have with children at the minute, which is dictatorial, erases them, right? And also creates this hierarchy where adults are pretending to be perfect, um, is unconsciously creating resentment and fear between adults and children. And it's not okay. So, acceptance. Your mistakes/feelings are okay and understandable. You are lovable, you matter, and your mistakes and emotions show me you are learning, trying, and growing. This is making it very clear for the child long term, if we keep reinforcing this, that having negative feelings or uncomfortable feelings or any feelings at all is perfectly natural and normal and healthy. What's more, if they make mistakes, natural, normal, healthy, part of life, our love of them doesn't shift because of their feelings or because of their mistakes. Your feelings and thoughts matter to me, and I want to be someone you can trust. If I do anything that doesn't feel good, you are safe to tell me. That's autonomy over boundaries. We're handing over, right? They have power if we don't rush them and we're listening to them and listening to their body as we watch them. Then also encourage them to listen to themselves. We're not overstepping there. And they feel more relaxed and more comfortable because they're like, right, at any point I can say whatever and they're not going to take it personally, right? And that's the trick here, right? As the adults, we cannot take personally the choices of our children, right? In any given moment, their nervous system is dictating to them what feels comfortable and what doesn't, and it mightn't have anything to do with us. Very often it doesn't. It's not about us. But if we can demonstrate our comfortability with no, right, we give them the freedom and the room to say no in the future as adults when they really need to. We give them the room to recognize that when someone's not okay with their no, they need to remove themselves. This is about creating situations inside of their tiny lives where in the big bad world later, hopefully it won't be a big bad word later, I would really hope not, right? They're able to honor themselves and hear themselves no matter what's happening, right? We don't punish children for not doing what we want. So, safe to tell me, and then keep it safe. This is the big one. Disturbing a child's trust. It takes ages to recover. If a child gives you their trust, it's massive. That is. It's the greatest compliment I think any single one of us will ever receive. And it's something worth cherishing. So to summarize that bit, so consistent accountability, acceptance, autonomy over boundaries is a playful, we're talking about an AuDHD child who is shown consistent accountability, acceptance, autonomy over boundaries is a playful, spontaneous, open, curious, unique, generous, and affectionate child. That's what a child is, naturally. The secret to making things right for them is dependent on us being there as our real selves for them and in our own special way too. So being okay with ourselves, our own humanity, being honest about that, being with our own process alongside them, that's what creates safety. And we both keep our connections. And as the adults, it's about us recognizing what we can and cannot do. And rather than expecting leaps, we go tiny steps. Right? Tiny steps can create immensely rewarding and very deep change quite quickly with AuDHD children because they are processing more than we can see very often. And what I've demonstrated here is very explicit, but it can all be applied implicitly. Our knowledge of them, our attention to them, our curiosity about them, our ability to be ourselves with them. Like, I'm not hiding me, like, I don't hide my humanity from my son. Like, I know the difference between, I'll never put all of my emotions on him unnecessarily. I'll never overwhelm him in that way. I try very hard not to, no matter what is happening, right? Because I want him to feel safe with me. It's destabilizing for little children, especially for an adult to attempt to hold them, like to attempt to elicit support from them or elicit anything from them. They don't owe us anything. Like, it's not a two-way relationship at all. Like, we're supposed to be creating this nurturing environment for a child, and they just get to be a kid. That's what they get to be. And we are allowing them to evolve how they need to. Bringing our mistakes to them needs to be done in a balanced way, neutral, present, communicated in a way that they can accept. When we know a child, right, this becomes easier and easier, but also intuitively, we have this knowledge within us anyway. We just don't often take the time, and sincerity is a felt thing. A lot of what has been made explicit in this presentation is largely invisible, and there are multiple ways that we can communicate our presence, our understanding, our respect, and our love for a child. Consistency and honesty are the keys. That's what unconditional love is. No matter what happens, you stay there as yourself. They're not asking much of us. And it is so vital to their progress and their growth that we offer the best of us to them. Okay, that's the end of that one. I don't know when I'll be back again. I have this weird feeling I won't be back for a while. We've kind of set up the school system and there's a lot independently offline that needs to be done. So I don't know. Whether I'll be back again for a while. But thank you for listening, and wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely day.